Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're gonna spend about 45 minutes, and we're gonna talk about our new and exciting product called NanoCS. We'll go through a lot of data. We've got a testimonial, then we've got Dr. Chris Hendrickson. He's going to join us in a little bit as well, and kind of talk about really what it is that makes NanoCS as effective as it is. So we'll kind of walk through, and then if you guys do have questions, you can share in the text box on your screen if you have to do a chat or you want to ask a question that way. We do have a few questions towards the end that we'll go ahead and highlight, but please, if you feel like you got something you want to ask, don't be afraid to do it through the chat box, or you can always send a text to whether it's Jenny or myself. But we'll go ahead and get started. So, one thing that we do at Nano-Yield is, we've got a pretty cool nanoliquid technology. And because it's so new, especially to agriculture, we do spend a lot of time, proving the concept. Let's get it out in trials. Let's put it out on the proving grounds, which is your farm, and really see how it does and make sure we're doing the right thing. And we've done over 600 trials for over 7-8 years now. And no matter how you look at them, we generally come up with that 3-to-1 return. Pretty cool for a product to have that kind of a consistent performance across that many different trials, that many different crops, and of course, over many different geographies. And when I show you the data that we have on NanoCS here in a little bit, you're going to also see that same 3-to-1 return kind of follow through. So it really gives you guys peace of mind as a grower that, to implement this product into your program, there's a really good opportunity for you moving forward. So with that, what is NanoCS? It's a 1-2-1, and it's got 1% zinc. So it's 1-2-1 NPK. So it's balanced. We really strive for that. And actually early on in development, which was just over a year ago, when we started kind of thinking about this product, we asked ourselves, how can we provide a nano liquid to enhance starter fertilizers, just because we know there's a lot of starter applied, whether it's corn, cotton. There's more and more acres of soybeans actually getting applied with a starter, wheat. I mean, you name it, starter fertilizers are getting used. And even on turf crops, right? So as you seed in a new turf, you want to put some kind of fertility down to get that off to a good start. So as we talked about the NanoCS, we kicked it around and we took really two ideas of our Nano Grow and all the benefits of that product, and then Nano Zinc, because we know early on certain crops need a really good shot of zinc to really get off to that good start. So we combined the two. So instead of, dumping in 2 different jugs into your tank, now you have the convenience of one with NanoCS. But we also had to go back and do a few trials in the lab because we weren't able to come up with the balanced approach that we really needed, having that 1-to-2-to-1 ratio. And Landon, our chief science officer, who's not able to join us today, but he really kind of put his thinking cap on and really went to work and came up with a really good product for you guys. So, hats off to Landon for doing that. So what we have is a balanced NPK. We got 1% zinc, and then we have a really robust biostimulant package with this product. And what'll happen is Chris Hendrickson in a little bit, he's going to explain to you, really what the makeup of that biostimulant is and why it's important in actually performing the way it is. So with that, we wanted to take a little bit of time and kind of explain to you how the nanoparticles, the actual nano liquid technology works. And here's a really cool diagram to help kind of you visualize, because, nanoparticles are really small. No matter how good your eyesight is, you're not going to be able to see them with the naked eye. So what we did is we created this diagram, and you can kind of see in the center of the particle, and they are that spherical shape, you'll see it's loaded. So we've got, that's where that 1-2-1 and 1% zinc is. It's all inside there. And there's some also free floating outside. You're going to get this liquid solution in the jug, and it's full of what we're, the biostimulant and the nutrients. But we wanted to kind of take it a little step further, and you can kind of see that shield around the diagram. And really what that indicates is through whether it's electrical attractions, if you will, or just the fingers and hooks of the particle coming off and capturing some of the liquid starter that you're tank mixing the NanoCS with, you know, be it 624-6 or 1034, what have you. So it's able to help actually bring in those nutrients as well, protect them and bring them into the plant. So that's very important to keep in mind as you're thinking through our nanoliquid technology, because it's really all about efficient delivery. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of highlight too here is with the carbon, so that biostimulant, and really why that's important is because that actually adds as a food source to all the bugs, you know, all the microbes in your soil, in that fertilizer band where you're planting your seed. And that carbon helps stimulate that biology. What that does is it really turns and helps make the nutrients more available to the early growing plant. So we see a more robust out of ground, and it also helps explain why we can go out with reduced rates of your in-furrow starter. And I'll show you some of the things on why that's important as we go here. So we'll jump into some of the data, because I know, you know, as a grower, you always want to see, well, how does it perform? You know, what's it going to do for me? So I have a few more folks coming on, so thanks for joining us, everybody. But here's just a piece we put together. This is a third-party trial down in Garden City, Missouri, of all places. And, you know, the control, or the third-party cooperator across all their trials, it's 5 gallons of 318-18. That's their standard program. So what we did is we added our 6-ounce rate of NanoCS to 5 gallons. And you can see in this chart, we had a nice, you know, 8% bushel increase. But then when we cut that rate in half, and this is really where the technology shines, especially for a grower, you know, we cut that rate in half from 5 gallons down to 2.5, and we saw a 41% bump in yield. Pretty outstanding. And we followed this through. This was replicated. You can see some of the early pictures and some of the corn development. But really what our technology helps you do is it's a management thing, right? So now you can reduce, you know, your rate in furrow. So you've got less gallons to handle at planting. You have less salt going down, even though 318-18, 624-6, they're low salt fertilizers, they're still a fertilizer and they still have salt. So if you can reduce that load and still get the same or even better performance, I mean, that's a win-win, not only for you, but also for your crop. So here's another trial we did. This is in West Central Minnesota, good corn, heavy dark soil. You can see the dark soil there on the root hairs. 624-6 is a very common in-furrow starter in this area. And this cooperator, this grower, you know, the standard rate, 6 gallons. You can see that on the left side. Pretty good overall growth. But then when we went and we cut that rate in half, now here he only added 4 ounces. It was supposed to be 6, but you get the point here of our technology, low use rates. We cut that rate in half, and you can see the development is pretty similar to the full rate. This grower is like, wow, if I can get the same crop, I mean, he doesn't need to increase his yield. I mean, that's kind of the cherry on top of the cake, right? Or however that saying goes. But if you can reduce your fertilizer in half, so he's got less product to buy, he's got less product to handle now, you know, he's all in on this, and very, very good, compelling story here. Here's a third-party cooperator in southern Wisconsin. 624-6, again, you'll see is the standard in the program. And we did a couple different rates. We went 3 gallons and then 5 gallons. And you can kind of see, and even where the check is, you know, we're seeing a nice response to an in-furrow starter. And as a grower, that's what you want to see, right? You want to see that corn or whatever crop it is respond to that investment you're putting in furrow. When we go to the right side of the picture here, where we actually have the NanoCS treatments at 6 ounces, you can see what we did with 5 gallons, but then really look at that 3 gallon, that far right picture of corn there, you know, 3 gallons, and we're seeing very robust growth, very good below ground and above ground. So this is what we want to see. We want to see really good growth. We want to see those reduced rates to help you as a grower, you know, really be able to be more efficient at planting time, because we all know that planting, you only have so many days to get that crop in. So we did a little bit of an analysis on this farm in Wisconsin there, and kind of showed the whole math on, okay, well, what's the net return, right? So yeah, we can see pictures, those look great, but what's it going to put into your pocket or actually leave in your pocket? And you can see the response to a 3 and a 5 gallon versus the check. No doubt this corn was responding to starter. But then when you take a look at where we added in the NanoCS, you know, obviously we're going to add cost because NanoCS, there's a cost to that, and we'll cover that coming up. But you can see we did add a little bit of a yield increase. And then with less gallons handled, you know, you can look at the return. We either put $1.68 back in the pocket or $2, just over $2. So not huge, but as a grower, those are things for you to decide, you know, what's important. You know, if you're strictly going after yield, you know, those are some things we can incorporate our nanoliquid to help do. But if you're really looking at managing your farm and your inputs and looking at it as a holistic approach, you know, nanoliquid really has a space in there for you. So this is going back to the Garden City trial that I showed you earlier. There's some pictures of the seedlings early on, and you can see early on, we didn't really see a lot of difference or corn response to our treatment, but yeah. Want to talk a little bit about the weather situation. And if anyone knows where Garden City, Kansas is, it's about 40 miles southeast of Kansas City. So you're not in really good corn ground. It's really hot and it's really dry, or else it's really wet. So you get a lot of fluctuations in the environment. So, you know, use this more of an environmental management tool. But early on, we didn't see anything. It was pretty good moisture early on. But as the corn developed and grew, we started to see some below ground and above ground response to what we were doing in furrow with our NanoCS. And of course, you can see with the yield data and then the cost per acre and the savings on whether you're at 5 gallons, 2.5, then factor in that yield response. And of course, this was replicated as well. So this is a third party, and we're going to do it again. All the third party trials that I'm going to show you today, we're going to do again in 2021 because we want to build that confidence. We don't want this to be, you know, the one hit wonder. That's why we've been doing trials since 2014. And we showed you guys early on that 3-to-1 return is very consistent. And we want to prove that with this product. So we're going to continue this trial and the others in this current year, 2021. Here's a trial this is in East Central Illinois. This is really good corn ground. One thing I should add, though, it was really wet in spring early down there. So this corn didn't actually go in until June 2nd. So think of Illinois, you know, corn should be almost tasseling by June 2nd, and this cooperator was just planting. But we saw a nice little response, you know, just under 4 bushel. We kept the rate the same. I mean, this cooperator was only at 2.5 gallons of an 1137.0. And I challenged him. I really wanted a 5 gallon and a 2.5. And he's like, well, I can't do 5 because I know that hurts my germination. You know, so we're already kind of proving the theory of, you know, too much in furrow and with the wrong product. You know, 1137 is more of a banding type product, not a in furrow. So we saw a nice 2-to-1 return here. Just adding in and keeping the gallons and the same. So something you can look at. You don't always have to reduce your rate, but it gives you the flexibility if that's something you're looking to do. We did have a grower in Kansas, just a little tidbit. He matched up his acres planted with his seed fill and his liquid fill. So he wasn't making that additional stop. He calculated over the whole growing season, or the planting season, excuse me. And he thinks he saved roughly about 24 hours worth of planting because he didn't have to make that extra stop for his liquid fill. So just some things for you guys, you know, as you think about this to keep in mind. So with that right now, what I want to do is kind of let you watch a video of a grower testimonial. Hopefully this pops up. It worked earlier. Jenny, okay, here it comes. So Joe this will start and then we'll give you the details of everything after he's done talking.
One of the biggest challenges for our farming operation, being in the Eastern Corn Belt, is early vigor. getting the plants up and out of the ground, getting the biggest bang out of our inputs, making sure that, you know, we can get that plant up and started. And a lot of that is we try to space out our planting periods. That way we don't get caught. We don't have all of our eggs in one basket. And there is always, every year, there's certain days that we just know that we shouldn't have planted on that day, but, you know, we went ahead and did it. So we try to eliminate a lot of our risk by spreading that out. One thing I noticed this year, we tried the NanoCS product from Auxin. We didn't really have a lot of expectations other than what was presented to us before we used the product. We did have instructions on how to use it, how to add it into our in-furrow. We did not cut our rate in half. We used a full rate, and then we added the 6 ounces of the NanoCS, and then we stripped, trialed it, we flagged it. We kept an eye on it. Didn't see a lot of visual difference throughout the year. The one thing that we did do, we went out and we did some ear samples. We weighed some ears, and I didn't believe it. I thought that there was something wrong. One, we had a really good corn year. We had it in the best part of the field, but even comparing side by side of where we were at, just the ears weighed so much more. I mean, we were coming in at 250 bushels, where our average APH is, you know, 200 plus or minus. And so just with collecting all of the ears, I knew we were going to have a really good corn year. But where we had the NanoCS from Nano-Yield, we noticed that the ears were weighing heavier, and we pulled quite a few ears. We pulled a dozen ears out of each, and you couldn't believe it. We've got to take this to yield. There's something wrong here. I just kind of dismissed that it was off so much, right? And then we got into harvest, and we got the combine out there, and we actually measured everything by volume and then by weight, so we could tell, you know, when we measure it by volume, we measure the density and everything, what's the pounds per bushel, and everything was spot on pounds per bushel. But where we had our 2 strips of the NanoCS, we increased our yield over 12 bushels just in those 2 spots. And it got my father's attention, and, you know, he's my business partner, if you will. So it got his attention so much that he's like, I don't know what this is, but we're going to do more of it next year. This was incredible. We have never seen a jump like this. I can only imagine. Next year we follow the rules. We cut our fertilizer back in half. We can actually save a little more money on our in-furrow. We can go farther. Just our time savings on our fill-up is going to be huge. So I'm looking forward to this coming year with the NanoCS product, putting it into our operation.
All right. So you can see that, you know, and by the way, Joe, when he did this trial, and he's in East Central Indiana near Milton, Indiana, if you know where that is. He worked for another company, but part of what he saw and some things that he understood about the nanoliquid technology and some of the things that Auxin's doing, you know, we kind of approached him, and he approached us, and he's actually working for us now, and he came aboard about 3 weeks ago. So Joe is going to be very instrumental in this product because he knows starter fertilizers very well, but he's also used it now. He's seen it on his farm, and he's got that confidence and that belief now because he's had that experience. So we'll send that testimonial out. I think it maybe glitched a little bit. Apologize for that. But we'll make sure that everybody can watch that again, and we'll put it out, either email it out or it'll be on our YouTube site. So one more thing before I let Dr. Hendrickson take over, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how easy this product is to use. Because as a grower, the last thing you want is something more difficult or another step or something that is going to take time to implement or deploy into your program. You know, NanoCS is really easy. You have to fill your starter tanks on your planter with liquid regardless, right? So it's really easy to dump in NanoCS. That's all you do. Start filling up with your fertilizer, dump in NanoCS, and by the time you're ready to start planting, it's dispersed and mixed because you're going to have your agitation running anyways. You're good to go. You can also foliar apply this product, and we'll have some growers, you know, with winter wheat coming out of fall dormancy, that are going to go ahead and just spray this on to help kind of wake up that wheat and stimulate it and get it growing again. So very flexible. So it doesn't just have to go in furrow. You can also foliar apply this product as well. So wherever you need a product to really stimulate growth, get the crop going, you know, NanoCS is a great fit. So with that, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna turn the host over to Chris Hendrickson, and he's gonna go through kind of some of the really the goodies, if you will, on what makes NanoCS as good as it is. So Chris, you are now the host, and you can go ahead and share your screen.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Jim. Okay, just bear with me, everyone, while I start the screen share. Okay, and you can see that. Take that as a yes. Okay, so can everyone see that slide right there? Okay. Yeah, so just wanted to sort of extend on some of the points that Jim has introduced here. Row crop performance in the Corn Belt is a game of margins, right? It's a really unique sort of agricultural game compared to some of the specialty crop horticulture that we see out west, across the Central Valley of California, et cetera. So every time that a grower's Corn Belt season starts, it's really a game of assessing risk and then going after a plan that mitigates that risk to get the biggest return possible. And that's where we think that NanoCS really comes into play, to deliver the most technology that we have in a bottle, to the benefit of the crop. Just to sort of back up a little bit, all of our products here at Nano-Yield leverage a nanoliquid technology. And we're really a unique company in the agricultural space in that regard. We're leveraging biochemistry that behaves a little bit differently down at the nano scale compared to traditional fertilizers. So our technology is able to sort of grab onto these things with good affinity, build this mass that you see here, and then again, cross into the plant cell and deliver all of that fertility in a much, much faster way. The carbon here also represents some material in our biostimulant package. And really, this is important for feeding your soil microflora as well. One of the things that has really been just, explosive in agriculture literature and research over the last few years is this idea that crops' nutrient and water access is just much, much better from day one if that root system is surrounded by things like mycorrhizae and beneficial bacteria in the soil profile. These things work together to help your crop acquire more nutrients from the soil over a given amount of time. So we've sort of taken that idea and included it into a starter fertilizer to really give your crop the best advantage of pulling nutrients out of the ground from germination. Okay, so to get into this biostimulant package a little bit, hormones are one of the most powerful things that plants and frankly, animals produce. By definition, a hormone is a chemical that's produced in, one part of the plant. It moves somewhere else. And then in another part of the plant, that chemical signal is recognized and elicits a really powerful response. Typically, auxins are produced in sort of the shoot meristems or shoot tips. And it's important to note this here because the auxins aren't typically produced until a little bit after germination and you have that extending shoot out of the ground already. So there's a little bit of a time delay for when that crop plant can start really feeling the effects of its own produced auxin. So it's produced in the shoots, and what auxin does is move down the stem and directly trigger the plant to make roots. And there's a similar hormone called cytokinin, which I'll talk about in a second, that's actually made in the roots and then moves up the stem to accelerate leaf and shoot growth as well. So the reason we put some of these auxins into a crop starter package is because we're really sort of accelerating that process, right? A seedling here at the VE stage, well, this shoot tip isn't going to be cranking out very much hormone. So if we were to supplement that auxin content at a really early stage, we're helping that seedling to get the signal it needs to develop an extensive rooting system, get the water and nutrient access from the soil that it otherwise couldn't get, and just generally speed up development. So the forms of auxin that we have in there are indole acetic acid. That's a naturally occurring auxin. And then we also have a synthetic in there, indole butyric acid. So in addition to the auxins in there, we have some things that sort of work in a similar sense, but these are hormones that trigger leaf and shoot production. So these are cytokinins in the form of benzyladenine, and then just your standard gibberellic acid hormones, and these are a mix of GA3, 5, and 8s. These are things that generally stimulate cell division, stem and leaf elongation, basically pushing your leaves out, getting them longer and wider to capture as much sunlight as possible and grow as fast as you can in response. Gibberellins are known to directly stimulate cell elongation both in the leaf and the root meristem. So this is a hormone that's basically getting your crop to elongate both below and above ground. Sort of the pièce de résistance, if you will, of our hormone package is the addition of a common carbohydrate or sugar. And in this case, we're using D-ribose. This is a 5-carbon sugar in the pentose family. Really, really common sugar sort of food or substrate for some of the beneficial things that you'll find in your soil that help your crop acquire those nutrients. So in addition to the hormone content, we're directly feeding your soil microflora with this 10% D-ribose content. And it turns out that this is really important because crops can sort of leach a lot of the applied fertilizers or nutrients that are given to them, up to 40% in sugars, up to 40% in amino acids, and then additionally things like, organic acids, things like sorbitol. These are all forms of nutrients that plants just lose directly through their root system. So by supplementing things like D-ribose, we're able to provide the soil microbes the food that they need to do their job, which then helps your crop plant. And how do they do this? Well, basically fungi are really good at sort of forming a sheath around roots like this, and they extend the area of soil that are being probed for water and nutrients beyond what just a root hair can do with their mycorrhizae, fungal hyphae. I won't go over this too much just because Jim covered it all already, but in general, this product, CS, just like all of our other products, are really, really easy to use. If you're applying CS in furrow, just like our entire line of products, it can be applied through any liquid means, right? And because this is really a product that improves nutrient uptake, again, just like our other products, it can really be used to enhance nutrient, pesticide, PGR, and biostimulant uptake as well. So Jim, that is all I've got. And what I'll do is hand control back over to you. I will stop.
Good, thank you, Chris.
You bet. Stop my screen share real quick. Jim,
I think while Chris is doing that, I got accused of this the other day. We did a webinar, and I apologize. I did it again. I didn't learn. I didn't do introductions. So you're probably all wondering who the heck I am. I did mention Dr. Chris Hendrickson, but Chris is our Director of Research and Development. He's headquartered out of our hub at Salt Lake City. And he's been with us, I think, since about the middle of last summer. Is that about right, Chris?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so great asset to our team. And then me, apologize again. I'm Jim Krebsbach. I'm our Vice President of Sales. And I currently reside in Madison, Wisconsin. And I said this last time, and I don't think anyone caught it, but it's the home of the Minnesota Vikings. So that's where I'm at. And we've got a slew of other Aqua-Yield teammates on the call here, you know, because we're all anxious and we're all eager to get out and help and do what we can for you with your interest in NanoCS. So Chris, did you make me the host again?
So Jim, I tried the 3-dot thing and it didn't work. So what I'll do is just sign off. It'll default to you and then I'll sign back in.
Okay, you can try that.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. All right. So if anyone, everyone can see the screen. So what we'll do now is we're going to run through a few questions. You know, I'm sure everyone's got a few on their mind, but I think we have some time as well. We'll open it up. So if anyone has a question that maybe we don't go through in our FAQ, you can go ahead and shout out. But what is the cost? So as a grower, you know, you're obviously everybody, that's the first thing they ask, you know, what's the cost? NanoCS is priced at 6 ounces to be less than $8 an acre. That's at MSRP to you. And we found a spot in there that, you know, if you take 2 to 3 gallons of your current program out, you know, that $8, it's actually under $8 is going to fill in. It's not going to cost you anymore. Now, if you want to add this on top, obviously, you know, you can do that as well, but it gives you an idea of what that cost is. Do I need to change my current fertility program? And really the question or the answer is up to each of you as a grower. You know, what is your program? You know, what's the crop? What product are you currently using? You know, I think we saw a really nice response when we reduced that 318-18. So if you're using that as a starter, yeah, you might want to change it. You still can use it, but you might want to reduce that rate. So just remember, our nanoliquids are really meant to enhance and be part of an overall program. So what you change is really up to you, and it might be just little tweaks and things like that. But as far as a complete overhaul, no, you certainly don't need to do that. You know, the shelf life of NanoCS, we get this asked a lot. You know, what if they bring it in and they don't use it all? Will it be good if they carry it over into the next year? And really, there is no shelf life timeline. We do want to make sure of a couple things. You know, try not to let it freeze. You know, keep it from freezing. And then keep it out of direct sunlight, because with that carbon and that biostimulant, especially on the CS, you know, we want to keep that in a cool, dark place until it's time for you to take it to the field. But the nanoparticles itself, nothing's going to fall out. So really no concerns there as long as it's properly stored. And then can you mix NanoCS with any other crop input? I'm sure we can. We know that. We know our products are very compatible. They're very user-friendly. And we encourage sometimes they'll do a jar test because, you know, especially if you look at like 1034O, there's different qualities of that product. You know, some of them are a little bit better made than others. So, you know, because we test one in a lab doesn't mean it's going to work with all 1034Os out there in the country. So we still want you to do a jar test just to make sure, because nobody wants to clean out a planter. And then can you use a NanoCS with other nanoliquids in the same application or even throughout the growing season? And of course, you know the answer there, or well, I'll tell you the answer. Yes, you can. We do want to make sure that we're not over that, probably that 10 or so ounces on a per acre application, because we do know that sometimes the nanoparticles start to attract each other. And now you're going to lose a lot of that efficiency. So we want to still stay in that 6 to 10 ounce range. So if you wanted to spike in some zinc, for example, in furrow, or maybe some of our nano pack, because you wanted to get a little bit more micros, you could certainly go 6 ounces and then 2 to 3 ounces of nano pack or nano zinc, and you'll be just fine. And then of course, any program, you know, throughout the growing season, you know, in furrow, foliar, you know, with your herbicides, with Nano Pro, I mean, really any trip across your field, no matter what crop, there probably is a fit for a nano liquid technology, you know, but there we want to sit down. We want to find out what your program is, you know, what are your problems? You know, what can we help you solve? instead of just saying, yeah, just go ahead and implement all these, because we want to have a good experience for you. So let's help solve some of those individual problems. And then what crop response should I expect? I mean, I really think out of all the data that we've seen, I think you can expect that 3-to-1. I mean, at worst, a 2-to-1, a return on investment. You know, we know that Mother Nature plays a role in this, and, you know, weather can change things, whether it's early on or at harvest. So, you know, we get that, and we hope you understand that as well. But certainly I would expect that 3-to-1, and then let's see what it can do this year. And then before we open it up to questions, if anyone has any more, you know, they want more data, they want more information, you know, you can go to aquayield.com/NanoCS. We have a landing page there. All the data we presented today is there. We've also recorded this webinar, so we'll be blasting that out so you can watch it again, because I know a lot of you probably like to listen to me talk, so you'll want to do that. But we'll have that tool. And then just wanted to say thanks for your time. We do have, you know, about 5 or so minutes. So are there any questions in the field, maybe that we didn't address, that you're just dying and chomping at the bit to ask?
There's a couple questions coming up on the chat.
Okay.
I think we already answered this one, but on a foliar application, can you add to herbicides or insecticides?
Sure you can. I mean, just, you know, there again, do a jar test just to make sure, but certainly would be very good and help actually improve the efficacy of the herbicide or fungicide that you're planting with. If you go back to the diagram picture early on, where we kind of have the fingers and the hooks, if you will, that kind of are going to grab onto some of those herbicide molecules and help bring them into the plant. So yeah, very, very effective to tank mix.
Another question, are your nanoliquids considered biologicals?
That's a wonderful question. We had a big debate on that as a team not too long ago, if we wanted to fall into that biological sandbox. Today they're nanoliquids. You know, that's the sandbox. That's how our products are categorized. Now, because we do have biostimulants, you know, some people want to put them into the biological, but there's no living, you know, it's not the bugs in the jug. It's, you know, we're not going to put CFUs and list out bacillus and all the strains of things on our, so really the answer would be no, it's a nanoliquid, but we do have some biological effect, if you will, if that answers your question.
Are the nanoliquids considered organic?
Today, the portfolio that we have, including NanoCS, are conventional. They are not registered for organic production. We are working on 2 products, and they'll be a separate brand. And as soon as we get OMRI, the registering organization for organic products, once we get those registered, we'll have a full launch, and you'll be fully aware of what we have as those tools come out. But right now, everything's conventional.
Stay tuned. We're working on it.
We're anxiously awaiting. Is that it, Jenny, or is there any more?
We just have somebody that's looking for data for small grain and crop for the Midwest. So we'll have to get back with them on that.
Sure. Yeah, we don't have any for NanoCS on small grain. Everything's been corn to this point. We're looking at getting some cotton. We would love to get some wheat trial data. So if there's somebody interested, you know, let us know. We're certainly open to that. We want to continue to expand our database and prove out the concept. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, and I know AquaYield does as well. And we thank you for your business. And if you have any questions after this, you know, we have our website. You can get a hold of us through that, your local rep. And, you know, just give us a call. We'd love to chat and see how we can help implement NanoCS. Thanks, everybody.